Hi, and thank you for clicking play on this episode of the Successful Franchisee's Beautiful View. And this week, I'm very honored to have Jason West McReynolds of Fran Metrics join us. And he's going to tell us all about his launch of Fran Metrics 2.0. After 4 years of the original software package, he's made over 100 upgrades and improvements to the original software. Make sure to stay till the end and Jason will give you a special offer for those franchisors, master franchisees, area developers, and even multi unit franchisees that are brave enough to help him with the beta testing. Like, subscribe, share, and leave a comment for us at the end. And I'm here with Jason West McReynolds of Fran Metrics. And Jason, tell our audience, how did you get started, number one, in franchising, and then go into how Fran Metrics came about?
Yeah, absolutely. So I was co-founder, CFO of a small pizza concept that started franchising. This was a long time ago. It seems like ancient history now. But started going to the IFA and meeting other franchise professionals, and I fell in love with the industry as much as just business or just what I was doing within the concept. And the people at the IFA were. They were willing to share best practices in franchising. They wanted to protect the business model. They were passionate about how they were doing it. I thought people would be like, oh, I don't want to tell you what I know because you're my competition. It wasn't like that at all. It was a family of franchise professionals that just was great. And so, I got my CFE. I've had that for over 10 years now. And I been in franchising and I've actually helped set up franchise concepts, probably over 50. But with that, my main focus is, on the financial side. So I was really focused on how can we make better use of a unit level performance or unit level economics, as some people say, data, instead of having a basically kind of a knee-jerk reaction as we're supporting franchisees based on the last review we read or what happened when we visited them. Like, can we do better than that? For example, we have a problem where a franchisee was losing money for 5 months, but we didn't know because even though they were supposed to send in their financials, this is a long time ago when people manually send in financial statements, but the compliance rate, by the way, because I went to the IFA and I learned this, like even with the big sophisticated concept you think had all their stuff together, the average compliance rate on something like that's 40%. Franchisors have got to pick their battles with their franchisees. And where's my latest P&L statement is kind of not at the top of the list, even though it's in there. But so I was like, there's got to be a better way. Franchisors need the data to compile it, for their financial performance representations, but also to support their franchisees. This data is so important. Why is there not a better solution to help collect and make the best use of the unit level performance data? And that's why I started Fran Metrics more as a specific software company that would automate the collection and use of and compile it in a way that's useful for the franchise and for the franchisee both.
Yeah, I number one, franchising is great that way. And the more that
Yeah.
I learn about franchising, you get your outliers here or there that
Oh yeah.
keep all of their information to themselves and don't want to share anything. But for the most part, it's a very sharing industry. Um, and it sounds like your product can help a franchisee understand where they are on a daily basis, weekly basis, as well as compiling it for the franchisor. How does that interaction work with your software and helping the franchisee as well as the franchisor?
Well, yeah, I mean, every franchisee has their own login. And so when a franchisor logs in, they can see unit specific data all the way down to the profitability, but also we combine feedback data, operational data, and the financial metrics. And so, but the franchisee, they can, when they log in, they can't see some of the specific data from other locations because, well, technically they could if the franchisor has that kind of transparency, but very few systems have that. But technically we could grant that access. But typically what happens is the franchisee would log in. They can see all the results of their KPIs, key performance indicators, like, big ones like labor cost for a lot of service industries as a percentage of revenue. And they can sit there and compare that to all the locations by creating benchmarks. So we have a median result, we have the goal that the franchisor, and we have an average of all locations. So that they could say, here's mine, here's what the average, here's what the median is. And then if somebody from California goes, well, yeah, but my wages are so high in California, that doesn't, so of course I'm off. You can say, okay, show me all the locations within my area. And so for depending on the number of units, we can actually really get them to compare locations that are similar, even in operation, like hands-on owners that are in the store, franchise operators versus ones that aren't. But they can literally see where there is areas of opportunity for improvement themselves. They don't need the franchisor to come in there and say, this is off, this is off. Although technically that is what happens. I would say, franchise business coaches are the number one user of my platform for sure.
Sure.
Yeah.
And how long has version 1.0 been out in the market? And what are the differences between the new version that you're testing now and the old one?
Yeah, I mean, there's over 100 improvements. So version one's been out for about 4.5 years. And I'll be real, we were actually we'd had clients that we'd white label some other stuff, but we like, this is not franchise specific. There's some stuff in here that's good, and it does what we want it to do. It does a lot of stuff we don't need it to do. It doesn't lay it out. So version one, we went out and said, listen, let's create this for franchising. This is where it makes the most sense to have the data, and this is how I know it would work for our clients. And then we've always improved it. We've always had our developers create new tools and stuff, but we're like, we need to kind of recreate this with version two. And so version two, I mean, man, I don't know where to start. There's over 100 improvements. So we basically rebuilt the system. All the buttons are going to be in the same place, so our users know where to click and everything. But we really rebuilt it from the ground up over 6 months with over 100 improvements. So the UI, everything's modern, it's faster, and a lot of the things we do now that we didn't do before is we actually email PDF reports like the scorecard, the weekly or monthly scorecards, where it has those benchmarks, comparisons, and trends, and all those things. Those will automatically be emailed to the franchisee, as opposed, we used to just set alerts and send like, here, this KPI is low, or something like this. Now they get their full reports, and that's important because we want the franchisees engaged with the numbers, and we realize that having them log into a separate platform when they already have about 20 others, like franchisors do that. They're sitting in a desk, they're sitting in a computer all day, and a franchisee's in the field working and working, and they're not sitting there on their computer waiting for another thing to log into. So we automated those reports so they'll get them regardless if they're in the platform or not. We've also allowed multi unit operators to be able to act like a franchisor with all their units. So before, they could go into each individual location and benchmark against the systems, or benchmark against themselves. But now they can consolidate, rank, and do everything else a franchisor could do pretty much uh, as they see on their franchised locations. So we've basically give them the franchisor view and just excluded locations that aren't theirs. So that's really, really cool. And then another thing that we've added is the biggest thing we've actually added is 100% flexibility. We have what we call user groups and KPI groups. And so I don't want to go on like and bore everybody to death, but basically this allows us to share different KPIs, no KPIs, or all KPIs with anybody based on what they're doing. So we could have a KPI scorecard or a set of KPIs just for, calculating royalties and advertising fund contributions and all the franchisor level, and only share that with the individual that is in charge of that at the franchisor level, not bore the rest of the people with it at the franchisor level. Definitely don't share that with franchisees. But then we can have a marketing scorecard for the franchisees and operational scorecard. So we have multiple reports groups that you can toggle back and forth between. It used to just kind of all be, here's your KPIs and here's your scorecards, and now it's that flexibility allows us to share certain data with certain people or not share data with certain people based, I mean, one person at a time or based on the group that they're part of, like the franchisees. There's other stuff there, like I said, there are 100 things, but I don't want to
No,
waste the whole thing on
that's
that. But
great.
there's a lot. There's a lot more, but that's
Top
just
top
those
four
are
or five.
those are a few of them. So yeah, and then the last thing I'll talk about is the flexible goal. So it used to be that you could set a goal at the franchisor level for a KPI, or you could set it for an individual franchisees. Now you can set it. Now there's 100% flexibility on how you can set goals, and it's all automated. So you can say after 5 months in operation, the goal goes up 10%, like if it's revenue, or it goes down 10%, or it increases or decreases. And I mentioned like, hey, my labor is in California. I'm in California, so my labor's higher. So based on a segmentation or a quality of the franchisee, the goal can change as well. And just based on a data point, any other data point that's coming in, you can change the goal from one KPI based on some other data that you import in, or seasonally. So again, 100%. So the goal is not some fixed number. It changes based on any factor that you want within the organization. So that's another cool feature.
What categories within franchising are most affected by Fran Metrics?
That I see. So yeah, so we I like to do it based, so regionally, absolutely talked about that. Definitely like other demographics like population density and just other categories of demographics important. Um, I already mentioned like ownership type. If a franchisee's in there working, like that can definitely change some numbers as opposed to like a hands-off or a multi-unit operator. We also separate company-owned units from franchised units if need be. And then time in operation, of course, is a big factor. Like comparing yourself to year one franchises instead of year two, year three is also a big factor. But it's 100% like every industry, like those factors are different. And so those subsets and categorization of franchise locations are 100% custom built. They're not like some set feature. Like I mentioned, I'm in California. There's nothing when you go into Fran Metrics, it says California. We set up the ones that are specific to what they want. No two franchise systems with Fran Metrics are set up the same exact way. And the more you have, the more locations you have, the more subsets you have, because in order to drill down, you need a certain number of locations to do as many drill downs as you need.
Mm-hmm. Share a success story in the last 4 years, without getting specific about the brand or something
Sure.
like that. Just share a story of how Fran Metrics has helped the franchisor and franchisee.
Yeah. Oh, well, yeah, for sure. So, not even one of our newer clients has not been able to actually get their data without having to go into the back end of their POS system, pull reports, put it on spreadsheets. uh, Hours and hours of work. Everything was just on massive spreadsheets, 100 and a couple 100 and some odd locations, and probably over 50 different data points that they were trying to organize and then share a certain way and email, and we not only did we get better data, automate it, share it with the franchisees, so the tool is actually doing 1,000 times more than what they were doing. They cut their workload down by hours a week. And I mean, they thank me all the time, and they left me a review that I put on the site. But that was one of the better success stories because that's what we wanted to do. That was our goal, is that we wanted to actually make the data accessible, automated, and ready to go. So I mean, there's more, but that's the most recent one. And you know, a lot of, if any systems are sitting there staring at spreadsheets or trying to compile and see how they're doing, and um, it's, you know, that's a really old way of doing it. No offense, I get it. You've been around doing things for a while. It's easy to get stuck on whatever you're doing, but you know, that that's not, I mean, that's not gamifying, that's not helping the franchisees until you manually go out there and try to share it with them. And if you have enough locations, you're never going to get to it anyway. So yeah. And then
Outstanding.
yeah, and then from franchisees, like I will say this, like I talk to franchisees every day. So as much, almost as much as franchisors who are using our system. And um I have franchisees that are like, this is awesome. I'm really glad you guys are doing this because I never really saw my numbers the way I have. But franchisees, there's a group of franchisees who really like to engage with numbers, and then there's some that don't really, that really have to be like, come here, you got to look at this, and the franchisors kind of got to bang it over their head, got to bring it to their attention, because a lot of the franchisees are they're really good managers, but they're not necessarily kind of the business people. They're operators. They're in there doing it, and which can be a bad thing over time because they're just doing a job and they're not looking at their numbers or thinking about setting goals and how could I do a better job. They're really just going through the process of the day-to-day operations, and they don't get outside and look at things. And so this hopefully will help, but this is just a tool.
Yeah. Well, and,
Yeah.
and we've been talking mostly about franchisors and franchisees. Speak a little bit about master franchisees that may own the rights to a state for a specific brand, or area developers, those kind of things. How do you work with them?
Yeah, no, and it works the same way as a multi-unit franchisee does. So if we have an area developer or area representative or a master franchise, it works the same way. We can have two separate accounts technically, but typically we would just set them up and they would have access. Now that we have, like, basically they would almost be like a franchisee. Now that the franchisee has the franchisor level view, they wouldn't notice a difference if they're not seeing another location that they're not part of. And so it's just, I mean, it's all done in the user settings, but it works exactly the same for them. There's no limitation on how we can set that up.
Outstanding. And during your beta testing, what special offers do you have for folks that help you out through this time?
Well, so we haven't raised our prices since day one. So we're really competitive. There's only a handful of companies that do what we do, but for we are having to raise our prices a little tiny bit once we're out of V2. But anybody joining now and our beta testers, we guaranteed a price lock for a year, so they won't be seeing any price increases and for at least another year, because we didn't want to. I don't want to.
Sure.
But yeah, after not raising them since we've started, yeah,
It's
it's
it's a good break, good time to do it.
yeah.
What haven't I asked you that you want everybody to know about?
Oh, gosh, that's a great question. I can't, honestly, I don't know the question that you didn't ask that you should have, because I just kind of like to flow with whatever the conversation is. But I will say that, I really, really enjoy franchising, and I like talking to anybody, even if they don't join Fran Metrics. The relationships. Franchising is all about relationships, franchisor to
Absolutely.
franchisee. I like building relationships with, anybody in the franchise industry, regardless if they use Fran Metrics or not. So I'm always open to just talk to people or chat with people, even if it's not about Fran Metrics or what the service I'm trying to provide. It's my business, but the relationships are are what's important to me and why I'm in this field to begin with.
Well, and I appreciate you and the relationship that we're starting to build. So
Absolutely.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Appreciate y'all watching this episode of the Successful Franchisee's Beautiful View. Stay safe and win every day.